Is that all right?
All right.
Thanks so much, everybody. And I think one of the reasons why I was really excited to lead this and to have you here, obviously closing out our summit, is you've really been at the forefront of shaping how we connect and communicate and collaborate for so long, right? So Smita comes with a background from Google and Microsoft, and now obviously at Zoom. So really kind of at that edge of bringing intelligence to everyday interactions. I think that's fantastic.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Can we start off with like a big picture from your perspective? When you think about what's the future of digital work and kind of hybrid and kind of this world that we're in, what excites you and what scares you? What's at the edges?
Yeah. So I think digital work, we all work every day, so I feel very privileged to be in the world of work and to be at Zoom and to be able to come and talk to wonderful audiences like you. But from a work point of view, I feel like these are some of the most exciting times because AI, and I think the AI revolution has been fascinating. It's moving from being something which was passive, it was still very helpful, passive, to actually becoming an active partner that we can collaborate with in our work, and it can help us do so much more. So that change is big, it's transformative, it's exciting, and that's something which I'm super excited about. When I think about, what scares me or what I worry about, in all this talk about AI, personally and at Zoom, we believe a lot in the power of human connection. And I want to make sure that we keep humans at the center of what we do, and we empower them, and we make them feel good. And then the other part, which has been talked about in earlier panels, is we do this in responsible ways, in ways that helps our customers. It's ethical, but it also helps them do better work, and we take good care of their data and while empowering them.
Right. So can we zoom in on that a little bit? When you think about, obviously, your project roadmap, and you guys have come out with the AI Companion, how do you keep it human? How do you keep it touchable? What are the things that you're thinking about to make that successful?
Yeah, so I think Zoom AI Companion is our generative AI solution. So just to step back a little bit, I think all of you probably know Zoom as a meetings company, but Zoom has a wide portfolio of product. We have expanded from meetings into workplace, phone, whiteboard, our rooms products are very strong, and we also have adjacent products like contact center and virtual agents. We've quite a few panelists talked about customer support and how that's also getting revolutionized with AI. So I want to give that background, and AI Companion is the technology behind all of that. But when we talk about humans, think about it, one of the most impactful things we all do is conversations.
Right.
When we are conversing, we are exchanging things the conversations are really meaningful, they're impactful, but often those conversations don't lead to the outcomes that we want, they just get lost. So really a theme for us is really to help us as humans take those conversations from conversations to completion. So how can you do that? How can you take those conversations and make them really impactful and turn them into outcomes? So that is something which we are really focused on. So for example, you are in a meeting. How can you have a great meeting but also end up with a really great summary, really great actions? How can you actually do those fast and automatically with the power of AI? How can you manage them? So think about that happening across the whole surface of products, across support. So those are some of the things which we are bringing to the forefront, which is you as a human being, whether you are the worker or you're the customer calling into contact center. You feel empowered, and you come out at the end of it feeling that now you can do more creative work and engaging work.
That's excellent. That's really exciting when you look at it that way. And when you think about kind of the platform that that you were able to walk into with COVID giving Zoom such a boost, do you think that's what's helped you kind of expand out the roadmap the way that you're saying it? Or what else? What else is sourcing that?
No, absolutely. I think we feel very, very privileged we feel very privileged to get the kind of customer love that we get, right? Obviously we work hard to earn that customer love, but that customer love gives us a lot of opportunities. So starting from a product that customers really love and they really want us to do better, they give us a lot of feedback. And from there, the adjacencies we have gone into, a lot of it has been driven also by customers talking to us and telling us what are some of the things they wanted us to get into. So, so as we were into video and they're like, your video is so great, why not phone, right? I mean, so think about it, like you're working, you have these rooms, obviously rooms is another place where you actually go and have conversations, but then how can we collaborate better? And whiteboard came out of it. So these are just some examples of, you have connections. We have a Zoom team chat product. You have all these communication or connection products. Why not extend them to help our customers as well? Their customer support products come in. So I think it's that kind of first of all, that core technology stack that we have, or the engineering talent that we have, or a focus on user experience, which customers really appreciate, but then also expanding from there, and a lot of interactions with customers as we develop our products.
And as you think about that, you've got all that, as you say, customer love coming in, and all that hope of what you will build and where you will grow and the adjacencies that they're looking for. But there's limited engineering talent, there's limited time, there's limited capital. How do you choose what not to do? How do you prioritize? How do you shape that vision of the product?
Yeah, so I think product vision shaping is, of course, you have to have a mission that you are excited about, a mission that you truly, truly believe in. And for us, really, we talk about, happier work. And sometimes I know it sounds a little corny, but we really want people to feel we want people to enjoy work as much as possible. It's still work, so we want them to have really great connections. We want them to be able to have a lot of impact. So we think a lot about those kind of things. So whenever we think about what we are building, we try to think of it from a user first, customer first point of view. So we really focus on that. We actually go very, very deep on our product. So if a customer wants something, we generally don't say, oh, how many customers want it. We will try to address our customers' demands, and you will see that in the depth of our products. We go very deep. If you are a financial services customer and you want local data, we'll provide it to you. If you want information barriers, we'll do that. We go very deep in our product. So we have the engineering talent, the depth to do that, but we focus a lot on simplicity of user experience. What we try to kind of really, and it becomes hard, is to not resist like kind of features for feature's sake, or resist a lot of hype and market pressure which is coming in, to make sure we stay really core to our foundations of simplicity, user experience, customer value. So an example I will give you is like agents is the word, agents is the hype of the day, right? Everyone has an agent, and there's so many agents, right? So, so I feel like there's a difference between agents and agentic. Agentic is really about task completion, getting things done. So, so I think from our point of view, flowing the actions, getting things done, this conversation to completion, it's really, really important. And we really want to do that. But but you don't need 1,000 agents running around in your user interface to do that. We will let customers, we will give them the ability to create custom agents, but we really focused on really one powerful agent for example, in Zoom Workplace, and you all work with ChatGPT, it's one agent which is really powerful, so that it can really help you get your work done, mixing internal, external, meetings data, and really do that. So I think this is where, when the hype comes in, there's a lot of pressure to move towards that hype, but you have to go back and really think about the core of user experience and what you're delivering, and talk to your customers and stay grounded.
And how do you separate that? How can you tell when something is a feature or a hype versus something that would really change the experience? Is it you put it out a little bit and you test it? Is it that you survey? Is it just that you think deeply about it and so you have the intuition? How do you source that? How do you find it?
There's a lot of debate. There's a lot of debate. There's ideation, right? There are ideas we look at. I do a lot of product and UX reviews along with my engineering partner. We debate a lot of things, and we do talk to our customers, and our customers are great, but our customers want us to go to them proactively with ideas, they want, and sometimes they will tell us, so we go through that. Sometimes we prototype things too, but initial prototyping with AI is quite easy. Developing a product which is hardened and secure and compliant and scalable, not so easy. So you still have to kind of do that. The prototype is not shippable. So sometimes we prototype things, we look at that, we look at the quality. So it's a whole variety of things we get into, but I think that upfront debate is really, really important.
Yep.
And having a frame and having a mission and the way you're approaching it, if you test against that and talk to customers, that gives us a lot.
That really makes a difference.
Yeah.
I can see that. And it's interesting to hear you think about how easy it is to prototype, but how hard it is to be, production ready. I mean, you've got hundreds of millions of users around the globe. And, the flip is ServiceNow's Bill McDermott said that he can ship a new module in 18 minutes now with AI. Tell him what you want and he can crank it out. But it's going to be very different from what you're doing, where it's got to be repeatable, it's got to be real time, it's got to work all around the globe, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have millions of customers, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, if you think about it, that's one thing is, if you think from a Zoom point of view, I feel like everyone has used Zoom, right? Or everyone is using Zoom to some extent.
Yes.
So when you have customers from the smallest to the largest, you have global customers, you have customers in every vertical, then at that point you have to get very, very thoughtful in having an experience that's both simple and scalable. So we do have to think through that as we are building the product, which is different from and that work is also very valuable when you go deep with with one customer and you do a specialized project for them. So
Right.
absolutely. So, so we have to, it is different, and we do think through that, and, and we try to think through our customers and our segments, and, and we try to design in ways that's scalable. We actually provide our customers, we provide a lot of controls to our customers. So our customers have the choice to customize things to a large extent.
Right.
Our users can customize things a lot. They can customize each features, they can customize the look and feel, they can customize what they turn on. So we also try to keep it personal while keeping it scalable.
Yeah. That's a nice way to balance that personalization and kind of making it your own, right? Because it is a very personal tool in some ways.
Yeah.
When you think about like how people collaborate and how much it's evolved in the last 10 years that you guys have been running, let's say, what surprises you nowadays in how people use Zoom?
Yeah, I think like if you think about work, I actually just like one thing. I worked at Google for a long time, and Google always believed in. I mean, Google founders believed that they should be able to get the best talent from anywhere. So when I started at Google like 18 years ago, I had a personal video conferencing unit at my desk. So for me, remote work was always normal, right? Like for me. But then I think during the pandemic, everyone started doing remote work, and that was a big change. So so it was innovative companies were doing it. A lot more companies started doing that, and then I feel like what happened was that people started using chat, so the number of channels exploded, the amount of volume exploded.
Right.
So all of that now you can connect in different ways, but work also became really noisy and really transactional.
Right.
And now with AI, there is an opportunity to take that work, which is so noisy and transactional, control the noise or make the noise meaningful through generative AI, like if you do with AI Companion or meeting discussions, chats, which applies to all of them, and then come back to more of the creative work. So I think what we are seeing is a hunger to operate like that. Meeting life cycle is really important for people, which is what can I do before the meeting, during the meeting, after the meeting? How many meetings do I need to go to?
Right.
Can I just catch up? If you go to, for example, Zoom, if you go, like you can, after a meeting, you can just connect into meeting in various ways, and you can, I miss meetings if I'm traveling internationally, especially the executive meetings, and then I can go and ask, was my name mentioned? I can go and ask, like, what were the action items? I can ask open-ended questions. Eric is a CEO, like, what were the main points that Eric made? So things like that are very empowering. Or I can go and create memos from mixing the data, which is inside of Zoom and outside of Zoom to create, say, a product strategy or drafts like that.
Right.
So what the hunger that we are seeing for people to be able to work in creative ways, I don't know if it's surprising, but we are gratified to see how much interest and adoption we are getting for these products. And I want to just touch on a few things, which is generative AI for us. We approached it in a very thoughtful way when we started, because we saw how impactful and powerful it is, and we actually got into it like just as I started about 2 years ago. So we thought about a few things, and and I think those are the things which are leading to the user adoption and impact. So one of the things which we said was, we said we feel like every user should this is foundational technology.
Right.
If you're buying a SaaS service, you should be able to benefit from it. I don't know if you all know that we include Zoom AI Companion at no additional cost.
Didn't know that.
And and it was kind of a difficult decision because people were charging so much for that service. But we said we will do a federated approach. We have the technology chops. We'll figure it out. But every user deserves it.
Wow.
So we made some decisions like that, and then the federated approach meant we can use a variety of models dynamically. This means that we get really great quality and often at great price. So I think those were some of the things which we brought in, and we said we will not use your data for training.
Right.
We will not, because you may be a large company talking to a vendor or a contractor, and you are going to get nervous. Even with your permission, we won't even ask for your permission to train with your data.
Right.
So we did all of that, and then as AI has evolved, we really believe in this agentic flows and tasks. So as we've been doing that, the customer response has been tremendous. They are getting so is it? I mean, it's gratifying for us because there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of noise, but when we see the customer love that we are getting, when we're trying to approach it fundamentally with that customer value and that simplicity and then the value which we want to provide to them, I think we are getting great responses.
Yeah, it's interesting also, there's a little bit of tension in the idea that you opened with we help people connect, human connection.
Yeah.
And now a little bit of the way the AI might be being used is to filtering the signal from the noise, it isolates the people a little bit from the connection, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, but the question is, so the question is, what is a meaningful connection?
Right.
I think that's what we have to come down to, is that people want to spend their time in meaningful work. They don't want to spend their time fielding like 1,000 chats and and scanning through a lot of stuff. They actually want to do creative work.
Right.
So and they want to have conversations which are engaging and productive rather than they are full of like administrative tasks. So that is where I feel like the value of human connection comes in.
Right.
Even from a customer support point of view, there is a virtual agent. We have a Zoom virtual agent. It is there. I mean, the tone is surprisingly empathetic, which is good.
Yes.
But then you do want to get the customer over to someone who can really connect with them where it matters.
Okay.
So when we design, for example, a customer support product, it's a progressive product. It starts with the virtual agent, but the virtual agent, it transfers to a customer agent very seamlessly, and we use AI every step of the way. So, while the virtual agent, of course, is AI driven, when it comes to a human agent, we include in all of the licenses, it will summarize and it will tell the human agent what has happened so far, so you don't have to repeat yourself, which is amazing.
Yep.
How many of us have to repeat ourselves so many times? Yep. And then as the conversation is going on, it helps the human agent with expert assistance. And then it also helps the supervisor, if the customer wants, it can flag the sentiment, so supervisors can come in and help if needed. So it's an end-to-end journey, and later conversations can be analyzed and optimized. So, so from a customer point of view, you get a human agent who is also empowered to help you without wasting your time. So to me, that is a meaningful connection.
Right. Yeah. And it's lovely that you're approaching a CRM solution with the user experience kind of as your touchstone, really, as opposed to efficiency or one of the other dozen things that we've been doing with CRM in the past.
Yeah, I think brands want to connect with their customers.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to offload some of the, of course, like very transactional things, but really, it's really when the brands connect to their customers, that is when great business happens, right? So I mean, so I think that is the service which you should be providing with our products.
I like that. And when you think about that, when you think about kind of your focus on the love, and you think about kind of the scale that you're working at, it seems like you're doing a good job kind of keeping that connection, keeping that intimacy, even though it is at scale, which is typically two things that are at odds. Do you have any insight on that? Any secret sauce that you keep in mind to get there?
So I think, I think many of course, actually one thing which is interesting is we are seeing almost all our customers now beginning to turn on, the product and starting to use it. Some are using it still more cautiously. So, so I think that is good. So, and I'm sure everyone here in the room is doing that, using generative AI in some form or fashion, either in pilots or at scale. So I think just thinking about whether it's your customer or whether it's your employee, and thinking about how AI can actually make them more productive, how can it lead to better experiences with better outcomes. I know people want, of course, business outcomes are important. I think if you keep that in mind, then that is really helpful. With AI, quality is everything. So you don't want bad quality AI. I mean, there is going to be, so I think you really do want to measure quality. You want to be careful with quality, because if quality, it will never be perfect, but if it is good and it keeps getting better, then that's really important.
Right.
That's the other thing, is like you're empowering humans. If you have really bad quality AI, you're making them look bad, and you don't want to make them look bad. And then keeping the human in the loop as you're designing it. So you have to be careful with that. Even with things like virtual agent, you have to think about a mix of deterministic as well as what I call like generative, because deterministic AI, where you give that this is the intent, this is the answer, so it's more like workflow-like. You have to find the right mix of those. So thinking about the accuracy, the quality, and then thinking about the experience where human is at the center.
Absolutely. And really, when you look at quality, if you have a bad quality AI, it's like bad quality employees or juniors. At some point you give up on them, don't you? Right? So what you really want is to always have that quality and always have that trust.
Yeah.
So that it's getting better and they're coming along with you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's really what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what you want, and and I also think, like, if you're working with vendors, you want them to be responsive, like you want them to actually be able to talk to them, and like all of those things.
Right. And you say that as a customer, you say that as a vendor, I guess, on both sides.
I'm sorry?
I said, and when you say that, you're speaking as a customer, I think, of your vendors.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. We love talking to our customers. So, so if you have any feedback, we love that, because I think customers give us great feedback, and they really help us make the product better. And even with a Zoom AI Companion, which is the generative AI solution, it's really been like, we have iterated on it with customer feedback. So for example, you can ask in-meeting questions, which is really powerful. Like, of course, if you're late, you can catch up, but you can also ask questions in the middle. Sometimes you have these heated debates, and the power move is to ask with Zoom AI Companion, what do we all agree on? What are we disagreeing on? And here you have an objective arbiter, which has no skin in the game. It's your personal answer, and you can get those answers from it. So I think those are the kind of things which can be really empowering, and they can be really helpful, and people can use them to do better and better work. So I think those are the kind of things you push.
That's a great use case. When you think about, you've got a mediator there all the time, right? Partial mediator. All right, but you're right. For the love from customers, we're all customers. All of us use Zoom all the time. Can you give us a peek behind the curtain? Anything new that's coming out? Anything that you're excited about around the corner?
So I will. So I think So you will see more agentic skills. Notice I didn't say thousands of agents, more agentic skills, right? So you see more agentic skills coming from us. So one thing which we just launched, and it seems simple, but it's not, calendar scheduling. So you can tell Zoom AI Companion, you can say, I want to actually have a meeting with this person. It'll think, it'll come back, it'll give you the options. You can say, no, not at this time, but at this time. It'll even message the person and say that, hey, can you actually meet at this time? So that's an example of an agentic skill.
Right.
Right? So it's kind of a cool skill. Like many of us here have EAs, but many people don't. So that is an example of an agentic skill. So you will see those coming out. Like we are working on a variety of things. We just launched something which is, you can bring knowledge collections, but for the knowledge collection, so this is where the user feedback loop comes in. We test products a lot inside Zoom as well and with our customers. So with these knowledge collections, what we are finding is you could have a knowledge collection for the salesperson. You could have a knowledge collection on HR policies. So as we are testing them internally, we are finding that some users are struggling a little bit with the discovery, so we'll turn it more into agentic skills, where you can, it can actually go ahead and so we are working on that. So you'll see a lot more agentic skills coming from us. But something else which I have on my devices, but you don't, but you will soon on mobile devices, is, we have these in-person meetings, and now we're having more and more in-person meetings, and we are adding a voice recorder too. So you can just press the voice recorder button on your mobile phone inside the Zoom app, and it will record your conversation, of course, with your permission.
Right.
And then it will run AI on it, and you can go back and you have the summary, and we will add that to your calendar.
Yeah.
So when you go, like, you have all your conversations, and you have you have summaries of those conversations, transcripts, you can delete them right away.
Yeah, wow.
And I'll also tell you another power move on Zoom AI Companion. Sometimes we get into conversations we don't want to be recorded. Then you can just pause it. It will stop recording. and then you can start it again.
Right.
So, so you can have your private conversation, you can complain about whoever you want to complain about, and then you can come back and you can start it again, and it'll be there for you. So.
That's wonderful. That's a great trick. All right, look, as we wrap up, this has very much been a leadership conference, and a lot of what we've been talking about is leadership. As we wrap up, could you reflect at all about, a leadership lesson you've had or something you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I feel like maybe I'm just repeating this again and again. I think it's really, as a leader, as long as you really focus on the human side of the talent, I feel like you get great results. I think from a Zoom point of view, honestly, even from a product, we want to enable great interactions, whether they are across the globe or whether they are face to face, sitting at a coffee table together. So for me, it always comes. I have a very distributed team. Most of the product managers are in the United States, but not so much in other countries. We have some in other countries too.
Right.
But with this very distributed team, which actually works on a mission critical product, and you can imagine, it can get really busy. But I feel like as long as you come back to and you connect with them and you see them and you help them, and people want to up level, they want to do great work. I think we get the results, and we get the satisfied teams along with it. My teams work very, very hard, by the way.
I imagine.
They work very hard.
They have to.
And sometimes I've asked them, is that okay? And they say, well, we enjoy the work. And, so I don't know if they're just telling me but I feel like that matters a lot. And I think when there's too much pressure, work pressure sometimes, or market pressure really, and you kind of divert away from that.
Right.
And I think you can see you can see the impact coming.
Right.
So keep yourself grounded and take care of your teams.
And that's where staying connected with it makes a difference, right? And you can't argue with your results.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Smita. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.